Welcome to Echoes of Faith, where ancient truth speaks into your today. Here, scripture, theology, and the languages of the Bible come alive to build your faith, steady your heart, and draw you closer to God. Today's episode is titled, Jonathan's Secret Victory, Faith that Climbs Despite Impossible Odds. Our scriptural text is taken from 1 Samuel chapter 14. Theme: the pomegranate tree, the language of perhaps, and the earthquake of God. While King Saul hesitates in fear and uncertainty, his son Jonathan quietly steps into one of the boldest acts of faith recorded in Scripture. Without a public announcement, without a military advantage, and without guaranteed success, Jonathan and his armor-bearer climb toward a heavily fortified Philistine outpost with only one confidence. They believe that God is not limited by numbers. In this episode, we explore Jonathan's secret victory through the original Hebrew text, classical interpretation, and profound theological reflection. We uncover why faith moves without needing complete certainty, how courage grows through trust, and why some of God's greatest victories begin quietly in the dark. This episode speaks to anyone facing overwhelming odds, hidden battles, or moments requiring courageous action. It reveals that authentic faith often advances long before visible assurance exists. The nation of Israel is backed into a corner. The Philistine army has gathered like sand on the seashore. The Israelites are terrified. They are hiding in caves, in thickets, and in holes in the ground. And what is the king of Israel doing? 1 Samuel chapter 14 opens with a devastating picture of passive leadership. Saul is sitting on the outskirts of Gibeah, under a pomegranate tree in Migron. He has 600 men with him. They are holding their weapons, but they are absolutely paralyzed. Fear always seeks the shade. Fear sits still and waits for the perfect conditions that will never arrive. But the camera shifts away from the paralyzed king under the tree. It moves to a young prince looking up at a jagged cliff. Jonathan is tired of sitting still. He looks at the garrison of the enemy, and he decides to provoke a fight. Today, we look at the breathtaking power of initiative. We examine the theology of risk, the courage of the climb, and the God who honors the people who refuse to surrender to the statistics. Jonathan turns to the young man bearing his armor. Come, let us go over to the Philistine garrison that is on the other side. Look at what is missing from this sentence. There is no committee. There is no public announcement. There is no strategic consultation with the king. The text explicitly states, "But he did not tell his father." This is quiet, calculated courage. Faith sometimes requires you to act before anyone else understands what you are doing. If Jonathan had asked for permission, Saul's fear would have infected his faith. The king would have told him the odds were impossible. When God places a bold initiative in your heart, you cannot always subject it to the vote of a terrified crowd. The Philistines occupy the strategic high ground. Between Jonathan and the garrison is a deep, dangerous pass. The biblical text names the two sharp crags of rock, Bozez and Sene, the shining and the thorny. The geography itself creates massive tension. Jonathan must literally climb upward, exposing himself entirely to the danger above. Faith almost always requires an upward movement against gravity and resistance. The enemy rarely surrenders the high ground willingly. You have to climb the rocks to take it. Jonathan speaks one of the most remarkable, faith-awakening statements in the entire biblical record. Come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us. Listen to the original Hebrew. The phrase translated as "it may be" or "perhaps" is olai ulai. Ulai means perhaps, maybe, or suppose. This is incredibly profound. Jonathan does not possess absolute prophetic certainty. God did not appear to him in a dream the night before, yet he still moves. We often think faith is absolute, ironclad certainty about the future. But sometimes, faith is simply the courage to act on a holy perhaps, Faith is the willingness to take a massive risk because you trust the character of God more than the certainty of the outcome. Jonathan justifies his risk with a flawless theological declaration, "For nothing restrains the Lord from saving by many or by few." Human beings calculate survival exclusively by numbers. We count the soldiers, we count the chariots, we count the bank account. But God is completely unconstrained by statistics. The mathematics of heaven do not align with the limitations of earth. Faith recognizes a divine capability that exists totally beyond human probability. If God is with the 2 men on the cliff, the thousands of men in the garrison are vastly outnumbered. Jonathan's armor-bearer looks at the prince and gives an astonishing response. "Do all that is in your heart. Go then. Here I am with you, according to your heart." This is extraordinary loyalty. The armor-bearer knows this is a suicide mission from a military standpoint, yet he ties his fate entirely to Jonathan's faith. Faith rarely survives in isolation. It grows exponentially through shared courage and covenant support. When you find someone willing to climb the thorny rock with you simply because they believe the Lord is with you, you have found a true partner in the battle. Jonathan proposes a highly specific sign. They will step out into the open and let the Philistines see them. If the Philistines say, "Wait until we come to you," they will stand still. But if the Philistines say, "Come up to us," they will climb. This is not a manipulative gamble. It is active discernment. Jonathan is looking for the invitation of heaven wrapped in the arrogance of the enemy. Faith always seeks alignment with divine direction before committing to the strike. Jonathan and his armor-bearer step out from the shadows of the rocks. The Philistine guards look down and laugh. "Look, the Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden." Then they shout down to Jonathan, "Come up to us, and we will show you something." Mockery almost always precedes a major breakthrough. The enemy sees 2 men and immediately assumes they are weak, cowardly, and easily defeated. But faith must endure being underestimated. When the enemy mocks your small beginnings, they are entirely blind to the God who is climbing the cliff right behind you. Jonathan does not hesitate. He turns to his armor-bearer and says, "Come up after me, for the Lord has delivered them into the hand of Israel." The Ulai has vanished. The perhaps has become an absolute certainty. Scripture says, Jonathan climbed up on his hands and knees. The Hebrew imagery is vivid and brutal. This is an exhausting, dangerous, vertical ascent. Faith frequently advances through physical and emotional struggle rather than comfort. They reach the top. Jonathan attacks, and the Philistines fall before him. The armor-bearer follows right behind him, finishing them off. 20 men fall in the space of half an acre. Victory begins suddenly. Faith experiences explosive breakthrough after the agony of courageous movement. The death of those 20 men acts like a match dropped into gasoline. Panic spreads instantly through the entire Philistine camp. The garrison trembles, the raiding parties tremble, and then the earth itself begins to quake. The Hebrew text describes this terror supernaturally. The word is harada, charada, means a violent trembling, a paralyzing terror, a divinely induced shaking. The enemy becomes totally overwhelmed psychologically. God takes Jonathan's small, isolated act of courage and amplifies it into a massive national disruption. God responds to the initiative of 2 men by shaking the tectonic plates of the earth. Faith understands that battles are always won internally before they are won externally. The Philistines defeated themselves in their own panic. Miles away, Saul's watchmen see the Philistine camp melting away in absolute chaos. Saul finally decides to move, but because he is operating from a reactive, insecure posture, he makes a deeply foolish leadership decision. He places a rash curse on the army. "Cursed is the man who eats any food until evening, before I have taken vengeance on my enemies." This creates an entirely unnecessary burden. Leaders operating from fear and insecurity consistently create harmful, legalistic control systems. Saul is trying to sound zealous, but he is actually draining the strength of his own army. Faithful leadership strengthens the people. Ego-driven leadership oppresses them. Jonathan, entirely unaware of his father's curse, walks through a forest and finds honey dripping on the ground. He dips the end of his staff into the honey and tastes it. Immediately his eyes brighten. The Hebrew narrative uses the honey to symbolize restored strength, clarity, and vitality. Legalism will always drain your strength. A healthy, robust faith restores it. When Jonathan learns of the oath, he speaks with painful honesty. My father has troubled the land. Even good, faithful people must sometimes confront the reality of harmful leadership. Faith values truth and strength far above blind, destructive loyalty. Ancient Aramaic interpretation praises Jonathan deeply for this exact moment. He acted not from the arrogance of a prince, but from absolute dependence on the God of Israel. The Greek Septuagint highlights the profound synergy between human courage and divine deliverance. Biblical courage is never the absence of fear. It is movement despite the fear. Human beings constantly crave guarantees before taking action. We want the contract signed before we start. But Jonathan challenges this deeply. Sometimes certainty only arrives after the movement begins. Jonathan's secret victory teaches us that faith climbs despite impossible odds. God is never limited by the numbers against you. Courage can exist even when you only have a perhaps. Small, hidden acts of faith can violently shift massive, entrenched situations, and initiative always precedes the breakthrough. If you are waiting for perfect certainty before making your move, remember the two men on the cliff. Climb anyway. Trust God anyway. Take the step. Faith that climbs despite impossible odds discovers that God was already standing at the top of the mountain. Thank you for listening to Echoes of Faith. May the word you heard today strengthen your spirit, renew your hope, and deepen your walk with God. Until next time, keep your heart open and let faith speak.